we do know, and this is coming out too, Biden's, oh yeah, that he is going to run. He's going to run in 2024. The blue wall held. We cannot have the right rip itself to shreds. Like, I'm going to tell you this. I don't know what Trump is going to announce. Didn't he say he's going to announce something at some point at Mar-a-Lago? On the 15th. I don't know what he's going to announce. I hope that he doesn't take media bait. And I think we need to wait till the postmortem on this is done. Because Republicans, I haven't seen something this fumbled since 2012 with Mitt Romney, to be honest. There's no reason why Republicans should underperform at all. It is difficult, though, when you do have your party leader, the former president. You can't, and I get it that he wants to, hit back, and he wants to also protect his political territory. And this is where he's more ideological and not political, because he's not political in that he is not looking at the strategy of having the party unity. He's more ideological. So that's where there's some friction there. But I mean, I'm hearing a lot of the same. I'm really interested in what your all's thoughts. I may actually open up phone lines on Friday again, because I'm kind of interested in what people think about all this. I think we've had, again, the bigger things are we've had split ticket voting. I also think that in certain areas, I think Trump's favorability does come into play. I was looking at the averages. And again, I told you all this. You guys have known me for quite some time. I'll tell you, I don't always tell you what you want to hear, but it will be honest. And in some cases like this, it will be what I think you might need to hear if you want to have a fully informed perspective going forward. There was a great piece, and I wanted to read this. It's from Bonchi over at Red State. I think this is a brilliant piece. He's trying to figure out the next step. It's called "I'm Sick of Losing, and I Hope You Are Too." It's what his piece is called. And I wanted to read this, part of it, because I think this is the best written piece of everything that's happened. He says this. Now, he's not advocating for DeSantis over Trump, by the way. And he also notices that, you're not undoing or denying what Trump accomplished in his 4 years by acknowledging that some of the stuff that he did, like with the Senate and all that, and going after Bolduc and that, is not the best thing to do. So this is what he writes. And this is from Red State. He says that what happened on Tuesday can't be left to lie. There has to be a reckoning, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to challenge some deeply held priors. Republicans can't do the same thing over and over, hoping the next time will be different, and no one should escape accountability. He talks about that, questioning McCarthy, whether or not McCarthy deserves Speaker of the House. He says in the Senate, he said, Mitch McConnell, he said, even though he should be lauded for raising and spending a ton of money to help elect Republicans, he's 80 years old and he's unpopular with a lot of Americans. For Republicans to escape their current malaise, new leadership is needed. He says, and this is from Bonchi over at Red State, he says the recriminations don't stop with elected officials, though. Donald Trump, he says, is the de facto leader of the Republican Party. He says he is the face, he does the rallies, he makes himself the center of attention, and he is the kingmaker. And he has now failed in that role for 3 straight elections. And this is what Bonchi at Red State says. And he, by the way, is a huge Trump fan. He says, frustratingly, he does not take responsibility for some of these failures. He's not letting anybody off the hook here, I want to add. He says, after Don Bolduc lost in New Hampshire, Trump trashed him, despite the fact that he was endorsed by the former president. He also bashed Mehmet Oz after that race was called. And in the midst of Republican struggles becoming clear on election night, Trump took to Truth Social to celebrate the loss of Joe O'Dea in Colorado's Senate race. And then he bragged about the disappointing night as a great victory. And he says that, and there's also his biggest thing, and this is what Spencer Brown had noted at Town Hall, his biggest win was J.D. Vance's victory in Ohio. But J.D. Vance underperformed by a lot. I'm glad that he got that seat, but he underperformed. And it does call into question the ability, and you want a huge victory when you cross that finish line. And how big can that victory be next time and the next time? Bonji over at Red State adds, meanwhile in Florida, DeSantis turned a state he won by 30,000 votes 4 years ago into a 20-point blowout. It was the most shocking shift in a single state in decades, with Republicans actually winning Hispanic voters outright. In a sea of terrible, what happened in Florida showed a better way, and it showed what issues voters cared about. It showed that being likable and effective as a leader matters. He adds, I don't know if DeSantis runs in 24, but Republicans would be foolish to pass him over for a nearly 80-year-old man with extremely high unfavorability. He says, I realize that saying this is definitely going to ruffle some feathers, and I assure you that's not my goal. None of what I'm saying means that 2016 wasn't special, and it doesn't mean that the big rallies weren't fun when they actually meant something and they weren't just irrelevant spectacles. He says it doesn't mean that Trump didn't accomplish a lot in the White House. But what it does mean is that times change and appeals diminish, and not adapting going forward would only guarantee another gut-wrenching loss in the next election. Republicans need a course correction, just as they needed one after the George W. Bush era, which ended with Romney. It's not about establishment versus Trump. And as I've said, because I've told you this, because then neither of them can win. Bonchi adds, it's going to take a combination of inspirational fight and extreme competence that hasn't been shown by the party's national leadership, from McConnell to Trump, to turn this ship around. He adds, while I may personally think that's DeSantis, I'm not going to browbeat anybody in that position. I encourage people to support whoever they feel convicted to support. And if we end up agreeing on 99% of everything else but disagreeing on that one issue, there should be no hard feelings. He writes, all I ask is that people step back, look at the whole picture, and think critically about how we got to where we are. Changes have got to be made because I'm tired of losing. And I hope you are too. It's one of the most spot-on pieces that you're going to read. And he's right. So where will those answers come from? Will Tom Emmer, is he going to talk about where's the GOP majority? This should have been a cycle of seat flipping. Where's that at? Will Rick Scott explain? He's in RSC. Why didn't the Senate go the way that it did? Why was it so tight? Why couldn't you have expanded it some more? Those distances. And Kevin McCarthy's press conference yesterday seemed a little bit weird on tone. Everybody is owed questions, or answers to their questions. And nobody's off the hook, not Trump either. From Trump to McConnell to McCarthy to Emmer to Rick Scott, a lot of people, a lot of moves. But one of the biggest ones is, and you can't deny the math, candidate quality does matter.